Hey, hello everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome to my first narrated Xbox One video for World of Tanks console. We're now looking at a Tier 8 Premium USA Heavy T34. It is my only Tier 8 tank and it is serving as a training vehicle for the crew, my USA crew, and of course it is a stepping stone on my way to M103 and eventually the E5. New feature that they added in the 3.5 update: if you hold down the left trigger, it will remove the unnecessary HUD information, but it will give you that giant World of Tanks logo, for better or for worse. I really wish it wasn't there though, because we kind of know which game we're playing here. Anyways, this gameplay is just the first good game I've had in a while, in the last couple of days, and it just kind of represents an atypical scenario for T34 on a certain map that people are kind of used to going in a certain way. That map, of course, is Lakeville, and as everyone knows, heavies usually just go the 2-line, they climb the hill, and they use gun depression to duke it out. However, because this is an encounter and we have a very defined objective here with the base, I choose to forgo the second line and focus on the 0 line and just go town. And being in the top tier, of course, gives me a lot of flexibility. Any tank shines when it's in the top, of course, and T34 is not an exception to that rule. As you can see, our teams are fairly well balanced. We have equal amount of heavies. Our heavies are somewhat equally matched in terms of firepower as well as armor. So this should be an interesting match. And of course, the reason I didn't go to the second line as well is because going second line is of no help to anyone. Because of the swampy terrain, the T34 would be really slow to get there, even slower to get out of there, and we would be no help to anyone going town. And since the objective is town, there's no point in going the second line, the 2 line on Lakeville if we're doing an encounter battle here. So as I'm making my way to town, I see the situation that the entire enemy medium cohort has rushed the objective and now they're occupying it, which also tells me that their heavies are a little bit behind, and I can see some of the heavies have been spotted on actually in the 2 line, which plays to our advantage since there's nothing to really hold the objective down. Like, the mediums are not really good at holding down the objectives. They're not good at, of course, facing multiple enemies, and the kind of heavies that they have are pretty vulnerable to crossfire. So I would actually take a, if the enemy team has to take blame for poor decisions, is for their heavies to go anywhere else but town. So as we go along, we're taking shots of opportunity, as one does, at the enemy captures. It's a large number of medium tanks of various tiers, from anywhere from 6 to 8. Generally, I try to prioritize my targets based on the tier, so we want to get rid of the higher tier, higher alpha guns on the game. So of course STA and 110. So as you can see, the 110 is precariously angled, so I would take a good shot at him there. I really wish this gun was giving me damage like that every game, because as we all know, the USA Alpha is very interesting. Sometimes it goes anywhere from 300 to 500, and a lot of times when you really need a high alpha roll, you get like 320 or 310, which is basically medium tank damage, which is really unfortunate considering we are sporting a 120mm gun on this tank. Meanwhile, as I'm renting, what happened is the enemy mediums got completely demolished because they were in the open field. They were kind of cornered and surrounded, which is good. And meanwhile, the entire enemy heavy lineup is either on the 2 line, bogged down in its swamp, or they're taking shots from the lakeshore. So at this point, we could have said, "Hey, we kind of won this game. Let's just cap." But there's so much free damage out there that I decided to kind of play it dangerously, just kind of poke out in the front line and take shots of opportunity at everything that moves. This hammer is in a good position for himself, bad position for his team, because he's of no help to. He was of no help to his team when they were trying to capture the objective. We also see that the Oho finally made it through the 2-line, and Oho, having ridiculous armor on every side, presents a tough target at range. Well, it presents a tough target at any distance, really, for any tank. So we're just trying to find shots of opportunity. Oho is not really paying attention to me yet. However, after that shot, he started paying attention to me. And this is where I kind of get careless and start taking unnecessary damage. I didn't think that Oho had a good shot at me, but he did. He pulled out a decent alpha on me. He pulled out around 350 damage on me, 351 to be exact. And then so we see last desperate attempts by an enemy team to kind of rush the cap, to slow down and give their heavies a chance to get into town. But it seems like the enemy heavies did not have the same idea in mind, and they're not coordinated. And take a look at the shot at enemy T34. Look at that alpha. I mean, if this gun gave out that kind of alpha with every shot, this tank would be priceless, and it would be more of a TD. But unfortunately, we have to deal with our 300 to 500 alpha range usually. So game is kind of slowly reaching its conclusion. We're trying to cap. Our cap keeps being reset by desperate enemies, which is fine. It keeps the game more dynamic. Our numbers are good. We have the 3 really heavily armored heavies, and of course that hammer is really, being a pest right now, shooting from his little perch. And I can see that Oho is also somewhere near the hammer. So they peppered me good. I bounced a few shots, but I also took a few shots unnecessarily. So at this point I decided to okay, I'm gonna just close out this game. I want to win. I'm gonna get a cap and do what I need to do to win, while also trying to snipe at a hammer, teach him a lesson to stop poking out. As we can see, sometimes our gun is not as accurate, even though that shot went straight forward, but it seems like hammer ducked back their last seconds. So I was hoping he was going to stay ducked, but he actually took a shot at me, really good shot. And now we're one-shotable for basically either the hammer or, we're one-shotable for Woho, and maybe two-shotable for the hammer. So at this point I'm really okay, let's close out this game, guys. Let's just defend this. Let's just win, because who knows, something may happen. And we see that Oho finally decided to show some balls and actually get into town, as he was supposed to do in the beginning of the game, instead of going to 2-line. So at this point I just want to make sure that Oho does not get into the cap circle, because we have about 9 seconds until we win. Of course my teammates don't get the same message, and Oho manages to get a reset, or manages to get into circle and slow down the reset, which gives me an opportunity to take a shot. And again, this Oho, I guess, is really hoping for the hammer to be able to grow some balls and push the base, but the hammer is going to stay in his spot for the rest of the game, and of course not helping his team a whole of a lot. So guys, I think if there's any point or is there any morale to take out of this video, is if you're a heavy, your job is to take hits for your team, because you're the best equipped tank to bounce shots, and when you bounce shots you save your team from damage. So if you're a heavy, go where you most need it. In this case it was town. You go up there, you go up at the front line, you take hits smartly, you take the smart hits, you bounce them, you save your team, you buy your team time to do stuff. As you can see, we blocked a little bit of damage because nobody really was shooting at us in town. But again, if you're heavy, your job is to be at the front lines and hold the line, because you're the most equipped tank to bounce shots and to survive. And in this game we did decently okay. We did the most damage. As you can see, the hammer and the Oho, they did a lot of damage from their team, but of course it was useless damage since they just they cost their team the game. I would think so. Leave any comments or feedback and suggestions. Thank you for watching this whole video, and we'll see you next time.